What's up, YouTube? Happy Friday, guys. I hope you're doing well, that your plans are coming along well for the weekend for worship. I just finished mine this morning, prepping all my song sessions in Ableton Live. And I thought it'd be fun to hop on and just do a live Q&A. I want to kind of get in the habit of doing this a little bit more regularly. So if you have any questions about worship ministry and tech, or anything, what's up, Luke? Just say hi, let me know where you're watching from, but then ask me any questions that you may have about worship ministry, and I'm gonna do my best to answer them here. And then also in the meantime, because sometimes it takes a while for questions to kind of roll in, I'm just gonna kind of talk about my Ableton Live setup and what I got going. I just finished kind of getting everything ready for this weekend. What's up, Sergio and Manolo? All the way down in Peru. Awesome. Thanks for tuning in, guys. So again, let me know, where you're watching from, what questions you have, and we'll just have at it here. So let's see here. I got a question already. Any tips on keeping your computer running smoothly? I think make sure you don't have, any more applications open than you absolutely need to. So if I'm running Ableton on a computer, I make sure that I only have Ableton Live open on that computer if that's what I need. Same thing with ProPresenter, my lighting software computers. I don't want to have too much stuff going on. Make sure the hard drive as well isn't too full. Like, you don't want to be maxing out your computer's internal hard drive. So use an external hard drive to store your media on. Make sure you reboot your computer once in a while. I forget to do that. I usually never shut my computers off completely. So that type of stuff is important. So hopefully that helps. I'm not like a huge tech guy when it comes to computer stuff, or the specifics of making computers perform well, but I just know that don't stuff up the hard drive. Don't keep too many things running at one time. Let's see here. Other question. Sorry, my finger's gonna get in the way. Doing this on my phone. What's the minimum kit needed for a small church PA system? I think if you have first a decent mixer. My go-to mixer is a digital console. It's called the Behringer X32. And they make different versions of it. You could get the X32 full version, the compact version that can be rack mountable. You can get the one that doesn't even have much hardware to it. You can just use an iPad to control it. So I'd get a setup like that. And then if you can, it's ideally too to get the Snake, the digital Snake, to go along with the X32. So then you don't have to run a big analog Snake to your stage. You can just run, an Ethernet cable to your stage, and you're going to be able to plug everything in up there. You can also, it's going to make routing monitors really easily too. I recommend using the Behringer HA6000 in-ear monitor system. I made another video about that, but using headphone extension cables, you can have in-ear monitor system for a couple $100 for a lot of people, and it works really well, especially if you have the Behringer ecosystem and you have a digital Snake on stage. So then you're able to just route all the audio to the monitor. So I would get that for a mixer, and then we use EV powered speakers. We have at our church, we have the 12-inch top powered speakers and the subwoofers below, 18-inch subwoofers. So I would recommend those for speakers. They sound fantastic, and I actually have a toolkit where I list everything. I'm gonna go back and add that to the description of this video, but pretty much any of my blog posts or videos about gear, you'll see my worship toolkit in there, and I have a list of all the gear we use at my church, but hopefully that'll kind of get you started there with some ideas. Let's see here. Going to see here if I can get another question. To run your visuals. Okay, so what's the best computer to buy to run your visuals on? Geraint asked that. What's the best to have on a Confidence monitor? So we use actually I think I can turn my camera around. Yeah, look at this. Okay, so this is a MacBook Pro 15-inch to run ProPresenter on and lighting on. It's stable. It's never crashed on us. I think we went to B&H Photo. We got last year's model computer, brand new. So it's not even refurbished, but it's cheaper than going, completely brand new with a Mac from the Apple Store. So I check out B&H Photo, see what they got. This is a computer that we definitely don't want to be crashing on us. We've had that happen before because we're using a less powerful computer. So definitely be sure to, invest in something that's going to be reliable for you. And then what's the best thing to have on a confidence monitor? So on a confidence monitor, we use just this thing called stage display. I'm going to see if I can do this here one-handed. So in ProPresenter, preferences, sorry, my hand is like kind of shaky. Okay, ProPresenter, you go into display and you go to enable stage display, and this is stage display. I wonder if I can pull some lyrics on here real quick. This is how we have it set up. So if I do like this slide right here, and I go back to stage display, show you what's going on. So this is on our confidence monitor. So on the top, and I have it formatted. It looks differently when it's on our screens, but we're able to, read this is the current slide, and then this is a slide coming up. So as a worship team, we know what the next slide's going to be. So that's what's really handy about ProPresenter and the ability to have stage display. Daniel, how would you go about introducing Ableton to a worship team leader that has no clue? Honestly, at first, I would recommend, I actually have linked below in the description of this video, Daniel, I have my free Ableton Live training where the purpose of that training is to really introduce people to the whole concept of Ableton Live, and just introduce them like why use it, the benefits of it, myths about it. So I would click the link below, share that with your friend, and try to explain to them like Ableton can run a click, it can run tracks, it can queue up ProPresenter, it can queue up lighting. And I care a lot about those things. I just really care about excellence in worship and like not having unnecessary mistakes. And today with this technology, there's really no reason to have late lyric slide cues or missed lighting cues. We even use Ableton to run main stage cues. So like here I have, this is like our whole rig that we use at our church. This is my Ableton computer, ProPresenter lighting computer, and main stage. Ableton can wirelessly control ProPresenter and lighting here, and then it can also tell main stage to queue up the right patch in main stage. So there's just so many benefits, and there's even more things Ableton can do that I'm not even using. So you really just gotta, try to pitch to people like just the benefits of it. So great questions, guys. And if we don't have time to get through everything here, I'm actually not in a rush, so I'll probably be here for a little while. If I don't have time to get through everything here, I'll make sure I'll reply to your comments later. How do you sync lyrics with Proclaim? So you can do that pretty easily. Proclaim, you can do it both on Windows and on a Mac computer, but basically you're going to be sending the MIDI signals out of a track from Ableton Live to let's say that your Proclaim computer is on a different computer, which probably it is. You're going to send it to the MIDI network. It's called the Audio MIDI app on your Mac, but it's a MIDI network app. Basically, you're going to send it over Wi-Fi to Proclaim. Proclaim, it's a little bit clunkier in getting it set up. I'm not as big of a fan as the ProPresenter setup, but you can do it. Proclaim you can queue up next slide in sections of the song and stuff like that. What else was I gonna say? Oh, you can also do it if you have like a PC set up too. Like if because there's a cool little app called RTP MIDI. I made a video about it a couple videos back about getting MIDI communication on Windows computers. It's called RTP MIDI app, and it's really cool because it's set up just like the Apple's MIDI network device, but it works just well on PC. So that's a great solution if you're if you're using PC as well. So. That's a great question. Josh, hello from Irvine. Yeah, I was down there for Catalyst. I like Irvine, California a lot. Let's see, if you had a small 1 or 2 team worship band, Do you need click track? Is it easier to introduce it later? You know, honestly, it's never too early to do this stuff, especially like if you want to have the flexibility. If you want to have the flexibility to either, sorry, mine's blank. Oh, if you want to have tracks or just have a strictly acoustic setup, like you can, you know, like a couple weeks ago at our church, usually we have myself on singing and guitar. We have a keyboardist, we have a vocalist, and we have a drummer. We don't have bassist or electric guitar, so I track those a lot. But so one week it was just like me, a vocalist, and a pianist, and then we use Ableton to run some tracks. We didn't run all the tracks, but just some of like the nice, like the percussive stuff to kind of add some beats to it and kind of fill it in. And it was really cool. I liked it a lot. So I don't think it's ever too early to get started with clicking tracks. Let's see here. And I saw a question, Proclaim versus ProPresenter. If you have the funds, I would go with ProPresenter. It's just a bit more powerful, a bit more, you know, there's a higher ceiling of potential of what you can do. I wish they had a nice subscription model like Proclaim does. Proclaim is definitely way more affordable. Some pieces of it seem a little bit more user-friendly. But I would compare Proclaim to ProPresenter like you compare GarageBand to Logic Pro X, right? They can do the same job, but one of them, Logic Pro X, has a bit more power and capability. Hey, Michael. Hey, thanks so much, man, for subbing and, yeah, watching the Church Motion Graphics video I sent out yesterday. Appreciate that. Let's see. Moving down these questions. What's a good bass amp for worship for around $500? You know, so I'm originally a bass player. Like, that's how I got started in music when I was in, like, 5th grade. I would say so actually here, look at this little bass amp I have. It's kind of funny. I mean, it's nothing special, but I really just wanted a practice amp that I could also use if I needed to take it somewhere for gigging. Because most of the time, you know, for bass amps and stuff like that, like you just want some good tone. So I don't know. This is a nice little Fender Rumble. I don't even think it was that much money. I think it was like $100 or something like that. And I've used it though. Like one time I was playing bass at Red Rocks, and I just used this on stage, and then you know we had a DI box go into the sound system. So that's good. I know Ampeg makes some good stuff, but honestly, I have not kept up with the latest and greatest in bass gear. So I don't think you can necessarily go wrong with Fender or Ampeg, or that's all I can think of right now. So great question, Luke. Let's see here. Sorry, I keep having to scroll up to the latest question. Okay. Let's see. Josh, watching from Tulsa, love your videos on automated lyrics and lighting. After you get that down, do you have any recommendations on the next step for taking worship to the next level? Man, I mean, I feel like if you're automating lyrics and lighting, you're kind of like in the very few % of worship leaders who are actually doing that and taking the time to do it, Josh. So one thing I did though was automating main stage. So that was a new thing. I literally just started doing this last week, and it's really cool. Like, we're not doing a whole lot of main stage patch changes, but in my situation, okay, so we have you know, volunteer keyboardists who come in, they know what they're doing, but they're not really the type of keyboardists who geek out about working main stage themselves and all the sounds and stuff like that. If you have someone who can do that like yourself, themselves, that's awesome. Let them do that. But I like to be able to go through and pre-program patches in main stage in Ableton Live, like the cues. So I'll just show you. That's why I have all this gear out, so you guys can see some of this. So I'm gonna zoom in here. Okay, so this is the beginning of a song. So we're doing Lion and the Lambs, our first song this week. Starts here, you know, and then it cues up it blacks out the stage lights, brings it down the house lights, and then we have ProPresenter cues right here, and then we have, this is a main stage cue right here, and I'll probably make a more in-depth video on how to do this. It's not terribly difficult, but it's an empty MIDI clip, and I think I have it assigned to do like it's just a program change. Honestly, guys, I don't even know what that means, but everything that I do, I just kind of research the heck out of it on YouTube, and when it works, and then hopefully I can teach it to people better than the way I learned it. So anyways, see how this says ARPS and BPM? So I created a template of main stage patches right here. So it matches up with the Worship Essentials 2 bundle I bought a couple weeks ago. And these are all the different main stage sounds. So here's my list of main stage cues. And it matches my list of main stage cues right here on my MacBook Air. So then what's going to happen, go away, update thing. Okay, let's go in perform mode. Let me see, make sure this is all set up the way it's supposed to be. So if I were to put this on a random one, played Ableton. All right, so see how main stage just switched because the playhead just hit that. And so not only is it gonna like pull up the right patch, so here I have this ARPs and arpeggios and at a certain BPM. So like when I play the keyboard, so it's like this pulsing arpeggio. What's cool though is that with pulsing patches like that, you want to make sure it's at the right beats per minute, that it's lining up with this metronome. So I don't know if how well you'll be able to hear this. I'm gonna turn this stuff up.
Intro.
So
1, 2.
So if I play G.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm gonna stop Ableton Live. So it's awesome because it's making sure that the arpeggios are in the right tempo. Because see, down here in main stage, I have 90 for the tempo. In Ableton Live, the tempo is 90. And that's automatically going to change. And then when we get to the next song, I'm going to go to Good Good Father here.
1.
It changed it to piano
1,
and
2,
pads.
3, 4, 5, 6.
And in this one, actually, yeah, look, the tempo actually changes for all these songs. So it's super handy if it's super handy if you're ever using arpeggiators in main stage or delays or something like that that needs to have the right tempo. Ableton Live can make sure it sends the right tempo there. So let's see. Freddie asks, are there free alternatives to ProPresenter? I don't think there are anything that's necessarily. I mean, you could use like Google Slides or something like that that's free, but nothing with the capability that matches ProPresenter. And then yeah, Josh asks, Ableton cues main stage. Yes, which you just saw a little bit more. How do you use to clean your in-ear tips clean? It's a good question. I don't really clean my in-ear tips very much, less. I probably should be. I feel like people have used like, I don't know. Honestly, I can't really consult in this area. Maybe like rubbing alcohol. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I have no clue. Maybe baby wipes, something like that. I need to ask someone who else knows more about that. Leonard, I want to know how to communicate with my band. Leonard, are you talking about maybe communicating during like rehearsal or beforehand during the week? Yeah, let me know a little bit more specifically there. And Daniel, why do I use all 3 Macs and not just the software on one? Technically, we could run everything on one Mac. The problem is you just start to like, you're kind of demanding a lot out of one Mac to do all this stuff. And part of it too is just the practicality. Like I like having my Ableton Live computer. I like having this on stage with me because then I control it with my Looptimus pedal down here. And then I like this being back in the media booth because I just feel like our media guys need to see that back there. And then this is by our keyboardist. So if you can divvy up all the kind of processing power and functionality of what you're trying to do between multiple computers, I highly recommend it. Is Ableton compatible with a robotic camera? If those robotic cameras can receive MIDI commands to go to certain directions, then I'm sure it can. Anything that can communicate via MIDI could, and that'd be pretty cool. I mean, with Ableton, you can automate pretty much everything in service. I wish it could automate our congregants' hands going up in worship or something like that, or like, or people like clapping in tempo. Let's see. Why did I choose our Gretsch drum kit? I just wanted something that was like kind of solid, like not that like for the shells, we didn't need something that was like way over the top. Like I like DW and more expensive drums like that, but our budget wise wouldn't allow that. All the research I saw, like the Gretsch Catalina Club, whether the rock or jazz version, it's just a solid sounding kit, you know, and it's not super expensive, but it's not necessarily a beginner kit either. For us, we invested more money into cymbals and hardware, and we put some nice like heads on it and stuff like that. And speaking of that, like I'm not a drummer, you know, I made that video a couple months ago. It's funny, that video's gotten a lot of views some reason the past couple weeks. And I say I'm not a drummer, but anyways, it's been a great kit. It's been holding up really well. One of my friends who is a drummer, he's actually servicing the kit this week, putting new heads on it, retuning it. That's something important to do every so often. I forget about that because I'm not a drummer. So let's see. Let's see. Yeah, and it's not. Alex asked, you know, is it possible to do this with one computer? Yes, it is. I just think it would be a little crazy. The other thing too, and I mean, there's some practical things, and maybe there's ways around it. But like, if I wanted to, like right now, what happens at the beginning of a service, for example, we use audio and ProPresenter to play our pre-service music. So I can, you know, cue up with my foot pedal these cues right here. That's then going to bring up our logo, and then it's also playing our playlist, of like pre-service songs. So I have like that Bethel instrumental music here. It's really great for a pre-service. So we have audio coming from this computer. So if we tried to run everything on one computer, it just would be a pain because I have audio coming from this computer. I mean, I guess you could use an interface and get it set up that way as well. But again, if you can get even like actually even our MacBook Air, that was a used MacBook Air. I don't think we paid more than like $700 for it or something like that for main stage. But I think if you can dedicate computers to like one task, it's going to be a lot more reliable. Let's see. What's up, Adam? Thanks for dropping in, man. So, let's see. This is a good question. Al, oops. Okay, there we go. From your experience, is it more rare to be able to be a full-time worship pastor leader? For me, in the Northeast, the cost of living makes it really hard to consider this with the wife. Yeah, so I've been full-time. I'm part-time now. I just kind of like my situation is I do part-time worship leading, and between like the Sunday morning leading and then prep, it probably takes a total of like 10 hours a week for me to get everything done. And then in the past, so I've been a full-time worship leader, and you're right, it's like most full-time worship leader positions, they're definitely, maybe, you know, if you're lucky, they're like median salaries for whatever area you live in. Most likely not going to be more than that. Maybe if you just live in a place that is really well off area. But so anyways, I feel like we were able to make it work, and this is in Littleton, Colorado. So I was a full-time worship leader from the beginning of 2015 through halfway through 2016. Yeah, and it worked. It was just like a median salary. My wife and I could work, or we could both live off of that. But yeah, it really depends on your situation financially, like what are your obligations and if it's going to work or not. So I think what's cool is today, I mean, I'm an entrepreneurial type guy, but today we kind of live in a time where it's so easy to like have a side hustle that generates revenue and kind of, you know, gives you some cool opportunities. That's part of what, for me, like, I did a lot of freelance videography. I still do that today. That's what gives me a lot of time to invest in the church front. So those are my thoughts on that. Thanks for saying hi, worship drummer John. Appreciate you, man. Um, let's see. Foothills Bible Church. I know those guys. Maybe is that Josh? Yeah, probably Josh tuning in there. If it's the same Foothills in my town here. How do you approach recruiting, training, and empowering tech volunteers? You have to find the people who are just like nerds about tech stuff. I mean, sometimes it's hard to like make people passionate about something they're never going to be passionate about. So that's a huge deal. I recommend like go ahead if you're having a hard time, especially with a sound guy. To me, a sound person is so important, whether it's a guy or gal. And I like to have consistency. So our church has a $50 a week stipend that we give to our sound technicians, just so that we can have really high expectations. They're going to be there. They're going to do their job. Because to me, it's just a super important position that like I can't have someone in that position that doesn't take it seriously. And then for everybody else, like, again, find the ones who really geek out about it. One good example at Red Rocks Church here in town, that they have like my friend Scott Pease is the production lead there, and he like has so many. I mean, part of it's like if you're a church like Red Rocks, you are going to have a lot more volunteers coming to you. But like he has like some of these volunteers, like a lot of them are teenage kids who just go above and beyond, like because they want to do this like for their life and their career. So he's got like a ninth grader, a freshman ninth grader who's completely owned the lighting stuff that they have and their lighting design there, and like he will program everything. And like this is for a church that has this is for a campus that has like 3,000 people every single weekend on Saturday and Sunday. So I mean, I think part of it is just like, can you just find those people who would like really geek out about it, you know, no matter what church you're at. Great question. And then Mo, how do you know what patches to take out of your Sunday set? Meaning, if you're missing an electric guitar, how do you add them in? If so, how much, how little? Let's see. Yeah, so for me, like, it's kind of straightforward. It's like I don't have electric guitar or I don't have bass, so I'm definitely gonna have those in there. Sometimes it gets a little bit grayer with like keyboard sounds because we can produce a lot of good sounds with our main stage rig, but then sometimes you play a Hillsong song that has like 12 keyboard tracks and it's like, oh, which one do I take out? I think you just gotta communicate with your electric guitars, with your keyboards, like, hey, what do you want to play? Maybe get them set up. I know some churches get them set up with rehearsal tracks by multitracks.com. They have like this cool feature where you can like, if you're using their backing tracks, they can go into rehearsal mix or whatever it's called and like hear the different parts, and then, you know, they could just tell you which one they want to play. So just lots of communication with your instrumentalists. Let's see. Unforgettable Me. We are just going into in-ear monitor system based on your YouTube video. How do we hear each other on stage during rehearsal without always pulling our earplugs? Brent. Let's see. So Brent, do you have, I mean, the key to in-ear monitoring is like making sure, you know, everything is mic'd and it's all going into your system. So, so that it can go to your ears. So like I have both the ears in all the time because I'm able to mix in everything that we have in our mix. You know, that's definitely key. So make sure, you know, if you have a drum set, you're definitely going to want to make sure if you want to, even if you threw like 1 or 2 overhead mics over it or something like that, just so you could hear it well and nice and crisp, or any other instruments. In-ear monitoring, you don't want to have just the click and tracks in there. You want to have everything coming in there. So, what's your electric rig when or if you ever do lead with electric? This is great. I haven't done a lot with electric recently, but my rig is simple. This is an area, again, I have not dove into this as much because there's a lot of guys who use like the Helix pedals and patches and stuff like that, and like that's a whole nother thing of videos. Maybe I'll have to make some videos of me learning how to use it and stuff like that. But if I ever do, so I'll show you right here. I just have the orange Tiny Terror amp. It's great. It's like, to me, less is more. Like I don't need a bunch of fancy stuff. And like this is how I get my tone right here. Like I think I dial the gain like right there, and maybe the tone a little bit like that, and the volume. This little guy I've had for like, I don't know, 8 years or so now, and it works great. And then I have a GNL electric guitar. I'll show you this to you guys because it's a pretty cool guitar. I feel like I probably need to use it more than I do. But again, I don't know. At Mission Lakewood, I'm just not an electric leading worship leader all the time type of guy. So, but this is a Spalted maple. Hey mom, thanks for tuning in. Let's see. This is a Spalted maple electric guitar by G&L. So G&L, Leo Fender, it's his brand. Yeah, it's cool. I love it. It's a great tone, and all I'll do is like I just plug that guitar sometimes just like straight into the amp. Maybe I'll have like a delay pedal. I feel like most worship stuff you don't really need more than just a delay pedal. Because I don't know. But again, I'm not like a huge electric guitarist. So anyways, that'll that works great for me. So just like it's a Tele style electric guitar. I just play rhythm. But I'm not opposed to doing lead stuff. It's just honestly just not my passion. I'm not really huge into that. So let's see here. Guys, it's been a lot of fun going through your questions. I think I would love to do this a little bit more. I need to do this more often. Maybe it could be like a Friday routine or something like that. Let's see. Adam, can you explain how you set up your pre-service music and other media and how to save it on Ableton Setlist? So, yeah, great question, Adam. So what I do is all of my pre-service media is in ProPresenter. So I have the songs, the playlist of songs right here. And then all I do is in my Ableton Live template for my set list every week. I'll see if I can get, yeah. Every week I save a clear Bail to logo, which makes it so this comes up. This is our logo in ProPresenter. And then I have audio playlist select and then audio and then track number 1. That's what these two green cues are. That's gonna select the pre-service music playlist, and then it's gonna select this first song, and then it's just gonna keep going through these songs. So like this is during the half hour before the service. And then I have like the house pre-service lighting and all stage black. So these are right here in my DMX 3.0. House pre-service lighting and stage is blacked out. That's how it works. I'm using ProPresenter. It's nice. Like ProPresenter is really powerful at playing back media in that type of way. So that's how I do that. Hey Patrick, do you have midweek rehearsals in your mobile church setting? No, we don't. So I try to get all my songs out to my band by Tuesday, and then everybody just has the expectation like you got to show up. You know the songs. Even more brownie points with me if you memorize the songs. And that's it. We show up on Sunday at 7 a.m. We set up from 7 to 8. Which surprisingly, I mean, yeah, we've got our setup time down to just an hour, which is pretty awesome. And then we practice from 8 till 9:30, so we have a good solid hour and a half. I used to do midweek rehearsal back at a church, the church I led full time at. And then honestly, like what would happen is like we would rehearse on Thursday nights, and like my personal preference, I'm not an evening person. I'd rather like, if you want to do a midweek rehearsal, let's all show up to the church at like 7 a.m. on a Wednesday or something like that. Like, I just hate evenings really bad. And like, so there's part of the selfish reason behind that, but what would happen anyways is we would rehearse on Thursday nights, and then everybody would like forget like what we worked on Thursday night. And then Sunday we would do like an hour long warm up. And like I felt like we're just relearning things that we should have remembered from Thursday night. So to me, it just makes more sense. It's a more efficient. I'm a high efficiency guy. Like that's all I think about and care about sometimes. It's like, how can we not waste everybody's time? I think showing up a little bit earlier on Sunday, getting more time in, and then we've ran through everything. Everything's fresh. You know, it's just like everybody's ready to go. And then like, you know, find other opportunities. Midweek rehearsal is great for like building community with your band. But again, like everybody's, I find at the end of the day, folks are like tired, you know, like they're coming off of work. Maybe they're running late from work. Like there's a lot of like things that make midweek rehearsals a challenge. And then at our setup and teardown church, it's like we just don't have a place to rehearse during the week, at least feasibly. So we just don't do it. But then finding other opportunities to have community with your band, like when we have time on a Sunday morning, like this Sunday, I bet we'll have time because we're playing songs that they're all songs we know. There's nothing new. If we have a half hour of time, then we're gonna go ahead and like after we rehearse, we're gonna go to Starbucks, which is like 2 minutes away. I treat them to Starbucks. We catch up, we hang out, we pray, and then we go back to the church for the service. So there's other ways to do that. Let's see. Josh, why don't you work at a church full time? You mentioned it only takes you 10 hours per week to prepare. What would you do the rest of the week if you were full time? So for me, this is different for everybody. Worship prep, like, doesn't necessarily, I don't think it necessarily has to take terribly long. Like, I really think if you had like, especially if you had like, if you really want to be super thorough, like have one full work day, 8-hour day dedicated to like, you know, planning out the service, you know, picking songs. Like, I mean, for us, it's like we don't really change things up that much from week to week. So that process doesn't take me very long. But yeah, like a day to pick out the service, plan the songs, make sure people are scheduled and everybody knows what's coming, resourcing your band. And then Ableton Live, again, for me, takes like 2 hours maybe to like do a pretty thorough job of setting up tracks and lighting cues. A bit longer for some reason. We're doing more than one new song a week, which we never ever do that. But if I were full-time at a church, I would also, one thing I did is I did a lot of like communications and media work at the church. I'm kind of the jack of all trades guy. I like to do stuff like that. So I kind of like built and oversaw like our communications department alongside worship leading. Some worship leaders do, like my friend Luke in town here, he's the worship leader and discipleship group guy. So a lot of worship leaders kind of wear 2 hats to be full-time, but some are just dedicated just to worship leading. And sometimes like it really depends where your church is at, because some worship leaders have time to like write music and produce music. That's what like a lot of my friends at Red Rocks do. Like they're like, they have to crank out like 3 albums over the next 3 years. They're about to record their next one. And a lot of like their expectation as worship leaders on staff is like, you have to help write songs, and like they're flying to Nashville and back and doing all that. So it looks different at whatever church you're at. I think to really do a good job at worship leading, just worship leading for like one weekend service type, like I don't think it takes more than like a solid 8-hour day to prep everything for it. So I don't know, folks might disagree with me, but again, it's like, how do you make sure you're finding efficient systems and stuff like that? So let's see. Caesar, do you unplug your hard drive after making set lists? Yeah, so as long as you save everything on the hard drive and you unplug it, you know, eject it properly, you'll be good to go. Josh said, you the best. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Brando, still haven't heard you lead anywhere. Do you have any live videos of you leading worship or recordings? You know, I have some live videos of me they're randomly on YouTube. So I think if you search, or I have a website, jakegoslin.com. That's what I used. I built it a couple of years ago. You'll see me leading at like one of my older churches, the older church I used to work at. Actually, literally was an older church. I don't mean older job I had. You'll see I'm leading This Is Amazing Grace. That's what I use as like a portfolio builder. But I don't know. I just like, I might get into doing that. Like everyone else, I kind of have that like, you know, security issues about recording myself and stuff like that. But I've actually been thinking of some videos to do for this channel about like how to record, whether yourself acoustically and make it like sound good using GarageBand, or how to do you know, live recordings as well, like at your church, you know, a multi-track recording, because we have the infrastructure to do it. It's just honestly one of those things I'm like, not really any reason to do it. Most of the times when I record myself for a church is when I'm like gonna go apply for a position somewhere else, but I'm not gonna do that anytime soon. Let's see. Alex, what in your monitoring system do you have, stereo or mono? And is it enough, or does the X32 have enough outs for your band? So all of our in-ear monitoring, we go mono, just because of the kind of like cost reasons, right? Like in an ideal world, I'd love to do stereo. But like, for example, our wireless in-ear monitor system that we have, we kind of like use a little trick where a lot of these wireless transmitters have a left and a right channel, and you can basically have two channels in one transmitter to get to your pack. So we have it set up so that our two wireless receivers that I wear and then the other worship leader wears, like we just pan each pack to either the left or right, and then we put the right mix in each one of those packs. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that's why they have to be mono. It just saves money, and it's just the easy solution for us there. Let's see. James, can we have more free ambient pads? So you have that free bundle of warm pads at churchfrontpads.com. Unfortunately, everything cannot be free. It actually costs like a lot of money to do everything I'm doing with Churchfront right now. I'm kind of an ambitious guy, but the idea is like 90% of what I do is free, and then there's a 10% that's not free, but that funds everything else so that I continue to make free stuff. So if you want more pads, go to churchfrontpads.com. You can shop. We have different bundles, different sounds. They're $30 each, or you can buy the whole complete bundle as well for, it's $200 for everything. So let's see. I think that's really it, guys. Thanks so much for the questions. One more. I'll take one more question right here. How is it that all worship leaders on the internet seem to be independently wealthy? Dude, I would say that, like, basically, like, it kind of depends. Again, it's all, everybody's different. I have my side hustles, so, like, I just work a butt ton outside of church and stuff like that. So, like, you know, some folks, maybe they just have a really, really great paying worship leading position somewhere. And that's great. That's how they can fund all the stuff they do. For me, though, I like spend a lot of weekends. I shoot wedding videos here in Colorado. Do I want to do that? No, but it allows me to like pour into my passion, which is Churchfront, and to fund my passion. So it's a great question. How should you should make an Ableton to X32 video? And maybe like, do you mean like trying to automate the X32 with Ableton? Because that's actually technically something we could do too. So I'm not sure if I completely understand your question, Caesar, about that. But like, it's pretty simple. The way we connect Ableton to my X32 is we just use the headphone output on the computer. That breaks into 2 1/4-inch cables, one for click, one for track, and then it goes into a stereo DI box, and then the stereo DI box goes into our board. So, let's see. I think that's it, guys. Just looking at all your questions here. Speak now or forever hold your peace. You can always feel free to send me a question. I get a lot of emails, jake@churchfront.com. You can send me an email there. I know sometimes asking, like, I know when I'm watching live videos sometimes I don't want to ask questions because I feel like it's a stupid question. So, but don't worry, there's no stupid questions. Let's see. Hey, thanks, James. I'm glad I can help you guys over in the Philippines. Appreciate that. So feel free to ask me questions anytime. Let me know if this is something that you guys think I should do on a regular basis. I can kind of block out some time, you know, maybe every Friday we can have like a regular, like, Jake's going to hop on YouTube live and, you know, answer whatever random questions you have that day. And then at the same time, I can, like, maybe I'll have some topic that I'll talk about if there's no questions. So, all right, cool, guys. Thanks. I will definitely do this. So, make sure you're on my email list too. Whenever you opt into my trainings, you'll get on my email list and you'll get notified that way. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And again, if you haven't checked out my Ableton Live training, make sure you get inside of that. Just if you're new to Ableton, you want to know what it can do, it's going to teach you everything you need to know. So thanks so much, guys. I got to go. Have a fantastic rest of your day and weekend.